Welcome to Beyond the Stockroom, where we will be exploring the vast career opportunities that exist beyond the stockroom. What happens when a product is out of stock? That's where we come in.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Beyond the Stockroom. We are so excited to have some of the OG SWTA supporters live on the call today. Angela Schmook and Kelly Bristol. Whoever wants to go first, I'll have you guys introduce yourselves and talk a little bit more about what you do in your day jobs and then your little aside project. So, whichever one, go for it.
I'll go. So my name is Angela Schmook. I am one of the presidents at Roadrunners. I handle all of what I call non-sales. So I handle our operations, marketing, all of anything that's not sales. That is my area, which is a little bit unique because we are a sales company. And what's interesting is that was my prior role as well. I did managed all of areas that were not the forte of the business. So I kind of did, it's like the cleanup act.
Mm-hmm. I feel you on that. I feel you on that. Kelly.
Okay, I'm Kelly Bristol. I'm the Vice President of Business Development at Just Gotta Have It, a sales agency in our industry. And my role is I work with finding the great brands that we represent. So I'm out there at market, looking for great brands and finding them in all different ways. It's a trade secret. Just kidding. It's really fun because I actually get to talk to a lot of brands that are new a lot of times, and they're looking for representation. They're looking for a way for their brand to grow. So it's really fun talking to entrepreneurs. And I also do a lot of the marketing for our company. So I don't do the social media stuff, thank goodness. Not for me, but I
Not for you.
do. No, there are better people for that. But I do our LinkedIn posts. I do our events in our showroom, which is really fun. I work with our vendors on that and work on press releases and things.
Awesome.
Nice. With
And
line acquisition, you're almost like a reverse buyer. So you're like,
Yeah, it's like a reverse buyer. I'm finding brands, and then, the brands get to grow when they're with a rep agency. So I talk to people who have grown their brands organically. A lot of times they feel really connected to the sales that they've made. They worked really hard to get into that store. So
yeah,
that's fun to hear about. And the why behind the brand is always fun to hear about.
for sure.
yes, the story behind it helps sell everything. Um, so really quick before we dive, I want to dive into that a little bit, Kelly, but really quick, how did each of you find your way into this industry? And I'll say find your way because I think you each found your way.
Angela's story is amazing. Go first.
My story is kind of funny. When I was in college, I had a job working in the dining hall, and I worked for a company called Aramark. And so I went right out of college to go to work for that company, and I sort of grew with that company. And one day I got really angry that someone had not put the ketchup out in the dining hall. And I went home that day, and my husband was talking about his sales career and how amazing it was. And I decided I was going to go into sales. So I actually found, and this is going to age me, but there was an ad in the paper for a sales rep position, which I knew nothing of this industry. I knew nothing at all except the business that where I was working for Aramark. We actually had an employee gift shop, and there were sales reps that came into the gift shop. So that was one of the areas that was over. So I sort of drew a little parallel there. But beyond that, I had zero idea that about this industry. So it just goes to show you can jump in feet first.
Yeah,
Um, so
listener.
I answered the ad. I went for my job interview at the gate at the airport. So there was no security. So I literally, the manager flew in, and I walked to the gate, and we sat there and had a conversation.
Wow.
And then I wound up having several phone calls with Louise Appleman, who tried desperately to convince me to not take this job. And after several phone calls of hounding her, she finally said to me, if your follow up with customers is as good as your follow up with me, you'll be fine. You're hired. And I showed
There
up
you
at
go.
market, and I've been running ever since.
Nice.
I
Kelly, how'd
love
you get into it?
that.
That's an amazing story.
I
And
know.
from the
Yeah, it
collegiate
is.
level too. But yeah,
Uh,
listeners, good example for no experience required. Be a people person, have the great personality, and you can succeed. But yeah, Kelly, how'd you get into it?
Well, they don't have classes at college for being in the gift industry or trade shows,
Exactly.
right? So
Which is why we're here doing this.
exactly. I went to school for journalism. I did it for a year in the advent. I'll age myself so that Angela doesn't feel bad. In the advent of cable TV. So
Ooh,
I was a cable TV news reporter in a local area for a little while, and honestly, like I didn't like it. So then I wound up in working in development at a college, and then I went to work at AMFAR, the American Foundation for AIDS Research. At the time, this industry organization called Gift for Life, Angela and I are both on the board. We're raising funds for that cause for AMFAR. And through Gift for Life, I found my way into the gift industry first on the trade show side of things, where I spent 20 years almost, 19 and a half, working on the National Stationery Show, which sadly doesn't exist anymore, but was fantastic. And there I got to see like brands, lots of brands launching, their products, but then their own companies that were launching right at the show. And to see the camaraderie that was happening between the vendors was really fun. I worked with retailers, not all of them all the time, but like special groups coming in. I worked on all kinds of programming. I ended up running the show for its last few years that I was there. And then I went on to the Dallas Market Center for a year and a half. And then I worked in technology at a company Dillon and I know well. And then worked with a buying group for about 10 months, which was really fun. And found my way to Just Gotta Have It 3 years ago. So I've had a lot of different experiences, on different sides of the aisle, they like to say. But one thing I have not done is work for a manufacturer.
yeah. Okay.
Maybe
But
next in your career,
I think I'm
manufacturing.
good. I really like it here.
Yeah.
I always wanted to work at an agency, like, and didn't know it low key, like, because when you go to market, you're walking around and you see these showrooms and all these brands, and Angela's colleague Tasha, was always like having a lot of fun and wore cool clothes, and I was wearing my corporate outfits, which I liked at the time. But
More
the
reason. If
right.
you want to wear whatever you want to wear, come to the
Yes.
industry.
But the vibe in the showrooms with agencies was so much fun. So I'm so happy to be where I am today.
Yeah.
That's
Awesome.
awesome.
Well,
And
listeners might be wondering how two agency heads came together for this podcast episode, but that's because Kelly and Angela have created a movement similar, like almost parallel to SWTA. Our missions align very similarly. Reps are local too. So just as the shop small, support local movement was taking off during the pandemic, we saw a shift over here in our industry where reps were getting fallen by the wayside to the website behemoth ordering platforms that came about. So Kelly and Angela set out to let retailers know that reps are also local too. And listeners, this is one more way that you can understand that you're supporting local through this entire industry with your purchase at small businesses. But do you guys want to talk a little bit more about that and your missions there?
Absolutely. So this sort of, and you queued that up just perfectly, Delaney. So Kelly and I do both serve on a board called Gift for Life, and we were supposed to have a call that day to talk about a fundraising project. And before we got on the call, I was like, Kelly, I want to share something with you that happened at our rep meeting. And a rep had walked up to me, and we were talking about sort of the state of the industry and what was going on. And she used this word of education. And so Kelly and I started talking through, like, when I was a rep on the road, we did not talk about things like we're going to talk about today. We
Yeah.
didn't talk about things like commissions and your job role and the industry was not transparent. Everything was behind a veil. And so for many people, especially folks like myself that have been in the industry for 25 years, it was real hard to sort of do that paradigm shift to start talking about things. And so now we're open and we're transparent and we're having conversations because retailers didn't realize that a lot of sales reps are commission only, which I think we're going to dive into a little bit because there's
Yeah,
lots of benefits to that.
there are.
Yes.
Um, so Kelly and I just we started this conversation about and somehow we just coined reps are local too. It just everything just started clicking in this conversation and it just sort of took off and started running. Kelly, I'll let you pick it up from there.
Yeah, we were mulling about names and landed on this one. So because we needed a name fast, we floated the idea to a bunch of rep agencies who are, in the industry and we're familiar with, and everybody was into the idea of creating something. So Angela and I went on to do that
Yeah.
in a month. So it was started 2 years ago, May of 2024, and in June 2024 we launched. It's because we wanted, like you said, Delaney, to remind retailers that, reps are part of their local equation. So many retailers, this is the hard part of describing our industry to
Yeah.
our friends, family, and strangers. I was just out at a restaurant and somebody's like, "What do you do?" And I'm like, "The dreaded
The
question."
dreaded question. What do I do?
It's like, the products that you buy in an independent retailer. I work for
An
a company
independent
that gets the
retailer.
products there. Yeah, right. But you explain we work for the companies that get the products into the stores. And so many retailers are in our industry for decades have relied upon reps for, planning their stores and having great assortments.
Yeah.
And, it's like it's the free advice, the collaboration that you get with a rep to plan for your store's greatest success and even for stocking, inventory. So like, we had retailers out there that just we felt like it would be nice to remind them like, order with your rep and not on some behemoth, platform where you're just scrolling away and seeing,
Yeah.
products without interaction.
Yeah.
Right.
We always say we're a relationship business. So like that relationship even goes as far as like between the sales rep and the buyer or the owner or whatever type of retail store it is. But that person, they almost become like that integral part as if they worked for them, but don't actually
Yeah.
work for them. And I think you said like free advice, right? Or like free merchandising or planning or whatever it is. And like that's the resource that a rep can provide versus, yeah, you can buy your products with convenience, but all that other stuff that you get with it, you gotta figure out.
You have to figure it out. Then what? You can buy your products with convenience, but then you have to figure out where in your store it goes on the shelf, on a table, like and what do I move and how do I cross merchandise?
Mhm.
And reps just are out in the field so much more. Angela was talking about how the transparency has changed over time, but retailers don't have like tons of time to go into their competitors and kind of that's
Yeah.
still a thing to see how brands are cross merchandised. The reps are in hundreds of stores, thousands of stores annually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They can bring that knowledge back to the store.
And I just
Yeah.
want to, just for our listeners that may not know what cross merchandising mean or even merchandising, because again, we just assume these terms. So like
When you walk into a
merchandising,
store and you
let's,
go,
yeah.
wow.
Yeah, when you go wow and it blows your socks off because it looks really nice and it doesn't just look like a big box store, I'll just call it because those have planograms and they have merchandising, but I would not consider it merchandising. I would consider it when you walk into a store and it has a theme and they have a lot of products beautifully blended and cross merchandising, as Kelly mentioned, is just like oftentimes you'll have just brands kind of separated, right? Each merchandised, but they're separated. And cross merchandising is like finding that perfect blend of the like products and making it look really beautiful, like they all belong together, even though they're from completely different,
Yeah,
manufacturers. Yeah.
like
And
the robes and the pajamas and the sleep masks and the candles.
Yeah.
There you
and the
go.
idea behind that is taking it one step further, is that you find those comfy pajamas, but that candle would go perfectly with that. And while I'm getting the candle, I probably need some lotion as well. And oh my gosh, there's a keychain in the same color. I need that too.
Or
It's
it's my
it's just it's
initial, like,
all about it's all about that visual appeal that
yeah,
gets the person to do a multi purchase.
yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Both of you currently have rep positions open on the job board on our website right now. So what ideally, especially because we're talking to an audience that may not be versed in our industry and they might have some experience that could cross over, but what specific qualities in a person make the best reps, would you guys say?
So in my mind, it is an entrepreneurial spirit. Like you want to own your own business. And there are lots of businesses out there that you can own, but there's like a startup cost. Like
Yeah.
you've got to put
Yeah,
10,000 to $500,000 in to start up a business. The startup of becoming a sales rep is there is a startup. You're investing gas in your car, you're
I was just gonna
investing
say.
in yourself
yeah,
until commissions come in, and we can circle back and talk about those
yeah,
types
we
of
will.
things. But the startup is minimal when you look at owning your own franchise of something, but
Yeah,
you make your own hours. You have support behind you. There's a team of peers. There's typically a sales agency behind you. There's a network of brands. It comes at you like you're almost handed a package of, here's your business, here's your company, and you can take off and run with it. You can set your own hours. It has all of the entrepreneurial things that someone would want in an independent rep position, but not
yeah,
that giant, got to write that check to get that business started.
yeah.
That's how I perceive it.
I would agree with that.
I I agree with Angela. And well, you do the same job, Delaney. So
I
yeah.
know, I know.
um, yeah, that's right. You're handed a line package, and a line package means you're handed, if you will, a bunch of brands to go to stores to sell them. And you're not exactly on your own. Like that brand line package was curated so that it is, great for the area where the rep lives. It probably has built-in sales already. And the agency we're all really careful. We recognize that we are, it's on us to ensure that our reps make a good living. And if
Mhm.
that line package isn't spectacular, the rep isn't going to be able to make it or last. So I think, when you're talking to the premier agencies, there isn't a one of them out there that doesn't have that built-in protection for the rep. So you can confidently step into the rep shoes and know, like, I can make a living with selling these brands. And
Yeah.
then I think like a passion for retail is really important. And also kind of, you've got to be a learner, somebody who loves to learn all the things. You want to
Yeah.
dive in deep and know, like, that uh, how something is made, and then have a little bit of a teacher in you where you're going to go to the store and you're going to say, this thing has all the ingredients you will love, and here's why. And the maker has all these, that you talk about that, the benefits and the attributes. So I think like the entrepreneurialism, the a little bit of teachery, salesy, but if you're not comfortable with sales, if you're a teacher, you can do this
Yeah.
job.
Yep.
And this interest in learning, and that all that passion wrapped into one makes a great rep.
Yeah, I think the learning is a big thing because I don't know, the reps have different days every day, and I'm sure everybody here has not really ever had the same day in our entire careers of this industry. Every day is different, so be ready to take on whatever. So yeah, the commission aspect I think is the hardest. Like hurdle when people are looking at postings. So given that you guys do have some openings right now and people might be interested, how would you speak about this commission thing? I think from my perspective, the customer base, so like if we were comparing this to opening a franchise, the name of the franchise that you're buying is our already existing book of business. Would you guys agree with that? So like the name that you got, if you were to start a franchise, that name that you're buying, whether it's McDonald's, Dunkin' Donuts, whatever franchise you are, Dutch Brothers, whoever, that is what is drawing customers to come to you. And so when you enter as a rep in this industry, such as agencies, like Kelly mentioned, we do have existing book of businesses in the territories that you're signing up for. So how would the commission translate if they focus solely kind of there from the start?
So that typically is the hardest part. And I remember when I was trying to explain to my husband, when I decided the day I was going on the interview, he had said to me, Angela, here's what you need. You need a company car. You need to have an expense account so that you can take your clients out. And you need to negotiate like vacation time and all this stuff. And I came home and I said, yeah, there's none of that. I'm still taking this job though. This is amazing. So it was very hard to get him to understand, being in pharmaceuticals, that that's not what this world was like. And the way that sort of the compensation works is it is based traditionally. There's a lot of different models out there, and that's someone that is looking to jump into this. You want to have a conversation about that, because there are different models. But traditionally, an independent contractor is commission based, which means you earn based off of what you write. To Delaney's point, typically a territory is already ramped up and has a book of business that you can kind of use as a starting platform. It does take a little bit of time to get yourself going.
Yeah.
So I kind of look at it at a 3-month, 1 year, 3-year, 5-year plan. And those are sort of the marks when I'm talking with a new sales rep. Sort of it takes you about 3 months to get your feet wet, to get a little bit of money coming in. At the 1-year point, it starts to level off a little bit. It's still not super simple, but about 1 year. At about 3 years, you've got your dollar amount, you're getting really comfortable with it. And at 5 years, you kind of go, I got it for the rest. And I mean, most reps, once they get into this business, they're lifers. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
it is an amazing career. You just
Yeah.
have to be prepared for those first couple of humps. That's my perspective and my experience. Kelly's might be different. Delaney, yours might be different, but that's my sort of take
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah, I'd agree. It's like 3 to 6 months. It's hard. And then, so how would we like, because this is the biggest, I think, chunk of the pie that hurt like is hard. So speaking to our listeners who are not maybe in the best position to jump into something like this, what are benefits of commission? Like, yes, we are going into entrepreneurial and we have our own businesses. The first thing that comes to my head is the no ceiling, and I feel like my generation is really looking for things like that. But what more would you kind of have to say about
Well,
benefits of commission only?
I think we could say that there's Angela talked about the traditional model of commission, and that's right. The other thing I think that we all do is that there will be there are opportunities sometimes for a rep to have a little bit of a I don't know what to call it, float for the first few
Yeah.
months, like draw. Thank you,
Yeah, draw.
Angela. So the rep isn't out of expenses at the beginning. When they're getting started, we all set them up where we're sort of forward paying for against future commissions for a certain period of time, whether it's 3 months or whatever. So there's, not a lot of risk there. You can come in and be supported. And the other thing is that I think we all probably have training programs of some sort. You might be buddied up with another rep to learn from. You would have ride-alongs with your manager. Sometimes the brands will do ride-alongs to retailers with you, and that's really kind of fun to go
Yeah.
in and, experience the, what your life is going to be like with another rep or with a manufacturer or the manager. It's dynamic and it's like an adventure on the road. I think the no cap is great about commissions, but also as a 1099 contractor, it is your business and there are tax write-offs. Let's face it.
Of
Yeah,
course.
it's true. All those miles, all the gas, keep
The
track.
Mhm.
wear and
You guys,
tear.
Your office at
yeah,
home, if you
your
have to
cell
pay
phone.
for a license for software, your cell phone, yep, all of
Yeah,
those
your
things.
Wi-Fi could be a write-off. Yeah, it's true. So get
Travel to your
creative.
accounts. You can
Yeah,
kind of work in a little downtime. There's all
yeah,
kinds of cool things that you can do with this model.
yeah, it's true.
Absolutely.
I think I'm a very wanderlust person. If I was ever a rep, I think that would be like the biggest thing is that I could just get to travel and like go to new places all the time and explore
Yeah.
and so fun. So
As
yeah,
part of your job. Yeah.
yeah, as part of your
Yeah.
job, that's just what you get to do.
Shopping all day. I mean, who doesn't love
Right.
going in
Yeah,
stores day in and day out all day long?
I
Sign
know.
me up.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's a lot of stimulation there. And some of what the reps can do with retailers is like during holiday time, they're helping with like gift wrapping and serving champagne and doing the little events in the stores. And that's a lot of fun. And the
yeah.
territories are all different. So, and that is agency to agency,
Mhm.
depending on like, where in the world of the country you are,
Right.
because the East Coast is very dense. So a person's territory mile wise might be smaller
Yep.
than a person out in the West or in the middle
Right.
of the country where they might have an entire state.
Yep. I've
Yep.
got those entire states.
Mhm.
Lots of
Miles of
yeah,
cornfields.
Yeah.
thankless driving, as my reps would say, but they enjoy it. I have one who she has got a territory like that, and she actually bought a van, and she's in the process of converting it. So if we have van lifers listening to the podcast right now, you would make a great rep, and your expenses would also be significantly low because you are already living on the road. So props there. Another like hurdle that I think you guys at least solved with Reps Are Local too was the insurance piece of um, the rep life. So, do you guys want to talk a little bit more about how Reps Are Local 2 partnered with another association to help bring some reduced rates for insurance to reps?
I'm gonna Kelly really spearheaded that one, so I feel like Kelly, you should speak to that.
Okay. So we worked, well, let me just say through networking, we're always chatting.
Yep.
Angela, met someone who connected us with the IHFRA, which stands for
International Home
International Home
Furnishing.
Rep Association.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, let's say it one
The
more time
mouthful.
clearly.
Yeah.
International Home
International Rep.
Furnishing Reps Association. Yes.
Ta-da! Yes,
Yes.
IHFRA. And it's a wonderful group that's been around for years. They're in the home furnishings industry, and they are a nonprofit organization. Reps Are Local too is a movement, not a nonprofit. So with being a contractor, typically you don't get, there's no company insurance. So you have to have your own insurance. Up until now, people have been getting insurance through their partners or parents, because younger people who are under what, it's 27, right?
26.
Yeah.
26
Yeah.
will start and they're still on their parents' insurance. But, for folks that get past that age, then you end up on your partner's insurance or needing to get your own. So IHFRA has group insurance where you can become a member of its association. And for Reps Are Local too, we worked with IHFRA to create a membership level for the gift industry reps to join for membership in IHFRA and then have access to that plan. And then the group insurance plans there are a few to choose from at different levels. And some of our reps in the industry are telling us that they're saving, lots of money as compared to
Yeah.
like the general insurance they're getting on their own
Yeah.
because it is group insurance. So it's great that we found this opportunity for everyone, and that is a way to enter it. You can receive more information about it on our website.
Yeah, perfect. I love that.
So it's so amazing that you went and partnered with them to do that, because that's always been like a big thing. Even as we started this mission, some people, I would just say the negative Nancy's, were like, oh, but insurance is such a tough thing. Nobody wants to be a rep. And it's like, well, sure, but like we got to solve that problem in my mind. Like, let's not let that be the reason we fail just because we failed to do anything about it. So like,
Yeah.
kudos to you both for
Thank you.
partnering with them and getting that going, because that's such a huge thing. So to have that is wonderful.
Another like big thing about this partnership with, and what is it, IHRFA?
IHFRA.
IHFRA.
I like that we're merging the industries as well with this partnership. So there has always been this like fragmentation. Like even when we were coming up with SWTA's name, we were like, I don't want to say gift. I don't want to say home. I don't want to say toy. I don't want to say souvenir. I don't, we're just, the more we continue to use those terms, the more fragmented each section of the same exact type of industry is going to not work together. So I really appreciate that you guys did that to kind of group home. We always say it's because like GHTA is gift and home. So why don't we have now the gift reps talking to the home reps, and maybe something
It
will
took
come
a
out of that.
year. It,
So
it took a solid year to get it to come together, because there needed to be, agreement from the board of IHFRA to allow this to happen. But the executive director over there was passionate about having reps having act like he's a rep passionate guy, wants to make sure that reps have what they need to be in these roles. And though the skill sets in the the skill sets in the different industries are the same, but the timing of the cycles are a little bit different. And sometimes, like in the home furnishings industry, like the way that products are purchased is different, because it's not like they're purchased in large
true.
volumes as compared to
Yeah,
the gift industry. Like, stores will buy a couple of couches. It's not
right.
quite like that, but
You know,
That helps.
Delaney, you brought up a really interesting point, and I think it's something that the listeners might be interested in. One of the cool things that I've seen take place over the last 25 years is how specialty retail has changed. When I joined, it was very gift driven. You would go into a gift store to buy a gift,
Mhm.
and that was
Yeah.
kind of like period, end of story. And then I saw some transition taking place where stores became more lifestyle or home driven. And then we saw a lot of sales agencies develop line packages where they would have a home division and a gift division. But now
Mhm.
we're all kind of merging back together. If you think about it, and that's kind of what our industry as a whole encompasses. If there is retail, we sell to it. So
Yes.
there's toy, there's spa, there's
Mhm.
still those gift stores, there's home stores, there's lifestyle stores, there's resort stores, there's hotel gift shops,
Yeah.
there's the outdoor world,
Yeah.
there's
There's
salons
restaurants.
and
Boutique
spas,
Yep.
there's
Yep.
restaurants. I mean,
restaurants.
it is endless. You can go to a car dealership and buy a gift
Yeah.
card
Yeah.
or a freshener or a Snuffy or a Nido or a I mean, so literally
Yep.
it if there's retail, it's all come together now.
Yeah.
So don't think that, maybe if you're a man's man macho guy and you're going, I can't sell candles to gift stores. No, it's all kinds of retail
Yeah.
now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's about kind of like starting to be more creative with who your customers are, rather than your traditional, okay, it's a gift shop or it's a home decor store or whatever. It's like, oh, hey, I'm gonna go in the store, and although it's trying to come out like a floral store, even though
Forest,
it's yeah,
exactly.
even though it's that, I see they have a blend of, like, they have a section of candles and some of this other stuff
Got
for like gifts. They
cards.
have some plush for like
Yep.
get well soon type stuff, or sorry for your loss. And like, there's another customer, there's another, thinking outside the box, not just
Yeah.
the traditional gift stores. So
Yeah, I actually just went into a new store on Mother's Day, and this I think is like kind of future of also retail. It was experience driven, but she also took like all the young kids, they're thrifting. So they have opened a store that is half thrift, half new, and they're waiting on their liquor license to have a wine bar in the back. And I'm like,
Fun.
I'm going back as soon as the wine bar opens because that's rad. But it was so cool. And then she came from a florist background, so she actually, for their Mother's Day promotion, got a bunch of flowers, and if you spent $125, you would get a bouquet for free. So that was
Oh,
really cool.
nice.
Yeah, it
That's
was
awesome.
really
Cool.
cool. So
And so you did.
yes, so I did. Of course, support
Moral of the
local
story.
always.
Yeah, moral of the
Um,
story. Do a promotion, you'll get more sales.
Yeah, so the more we can always collaborate, and Angela has introduced me to the Boutique Hub, who their motto is community over competition. And I think the more that we can all, if our retailers are doing it, our side of the industry, because we're just beyond the stockroom, should also be participating in that community over competition. And we talk about that as it relates to market and things like that too. So, um, well, what?
I quickly wanted to ask, I know both of you during markets do temps. Like you always have temps, both of you
Yes.
do. I believe both of your showrooms are very fun, so I will happily plug any temp positions you have to people because I just think it'd be fun to work in your showroom as some order writers. What we always say we've all gotten into this industry, even like I think one of you mentioned once the reps are in, they're hooked, right? They never leave. What, like, have you experienced any temps that for one reason or another they can't take on like a full-time sales rep job? Maybe they just have too good of a gig doing whatever, but they're like a repeat temp just because it's like their little taste and they love it.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yes.
Totally family. That you can count on these folks year after year after year. I mean, Angela and I have showrooms across from one another in Las Vegas, and I think I recognize her temps, and the people who work in that showroom because they're always there. And I think there's like probably this network of temps who know each other, and my friend works in this showroom, but I'm in that
Yeah.
showroom. So absolutely.
I feel like that's how the showroom managers are too. Like they
Yeah.
all just know each
Yes.
other. Yeah, yeah.
Everybody
And the
If
has their
there's
sub
designers.
network.
Yeah, and the
Yeah.
designers. Yeah.
if there's anyone that lives, so the three major marketplaces, and there are more, but I'm just going to speak to the three major, and there happen to be the three that I'm in: Atlanta, Dallas, and Las Vegas. If you're near any of those, this is a great way to kind of get a taste of the industry, is to come in, work as a temporary sales associate. You can kind of see what it's all about. It's almost like a little taster. You could also come in and work set up in advance. We do design work. There's all kinds of different jobs that take
Yep.
place within our showrooms, and bringing up the showroom and the show piece of it. That's just a fantastic way to learn more.
Yeah. Well, and that tying that back to reps are local too, I think that's also another benefit that you guys have offered to the reps is at shows is really like one of their only opportunities to network with each other, but it's also their busiest time. So when are they supposed to network? So with reps are local too, you're giving them all that option, and I think that will only help strengthen the entire force. So the more they can learn from.
Yeah, there used to be more opportunities on the road for reps to meet each other because retailers would host rep days. That doesn't happen so much anymore. But these reps are, they know each other. They do bump into each other in their stores when they're,
Yeah.
on their appointments and things. And they're starting to do, they've been doing for the past several years, smaller events together in their territories too. So they're collaborative. And I
Yeah.
think as a result, our industry has become more collaborative because they're working with each other to make make the most of their businesses.
Yeah. I love that. Community over competition. Yet again, here we
Yes.
are. Nice.
Thrive.
Um, Angela, you were mentioning that your husband came from pharmaceutical sales, and that was sort of a jump point for my ideas when I was watching like all of the dating reality shows that I watch, there's just so many young people who are in real estate or pharmaceutical sales or medical device sales. So no, like if your husband was doing that and he's like, you need a company car, you need to do this, da 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 da. What if somebody was coming from that industry listening to this podcast right now? What is the, other than obviously the products that we're selling, what would be the best outcome of them coming over here?
So I think it's sort of a self-analysis of what's really important to you. And while for pharmaceuticals or any type of sale like that has some financial perks, it has, some amenities, but you're not in control of your days. You've got X number of vacation days, you've got X number of PTO days. You have to do this from this hour to this hour. You have someone telling you exactly how to do everything. Um, while you have to be entrepreneurial and you have to be driven and you have to self-manage yourself, you do get guardrails and guidelines. Your brands dictate a lot of that, and there are sales goals that your brands dictate and those types of things. But you really are in control. If you want to start your day at 9 o'clock, you can start your day at 9 o'clock. If you want to start your day at 5 a.m., you can start at 5 a.m. If you want to, go do muffins for mom one morning and you don't want to start your day until 2 o'clock, you can do that too, because you are in control. So, especially for someone that wants to have a different type of work-life balance, I feel like this is like the career for you if that's what you're looking for. There are some, and to me that is like paramount. That is the number one thing that I think that you get from being in our industry.
Yeah, nice. I had always thought it would be less stressful over here than some of the things they might have to deal with in that area.
Yeah.
I mean, we have our own stressors
Yeah,
and
but we're selling happiness in the end. We're
yeah,
selling like
yeah,
fun products, that make
yeah.
people smile.
Yeah, so
Yes.
we have goals, but if we don't hit our goals, it's not like we're gonna get
Right.
fired necessarily. So sometimes that could happen, depends on the brand and your relationship with that brand and all those sorts of things. But otherwise, yeah, we're selling joy and happiness and all the things. So
And fun stuff. And did we mention all the fun samples that you get?
Oh, we
That's
didn't
the
even
That's
touch
part
on that.
another perk.
we didn't even talk about that. So like you bring on, like, you've got a line package, let's just say you have 20, 25 brands. You get so much fun free stuff. There's candles to burn. And when I say free, I mean like they're your
It is
samples,
a
but
sample.
you can
Yeah.
burn them in the house and you can wear the jewelry to promote the brand. And there's so much fun stuff.
yeah, no,
Right.
I recommend using all your samples as a rep because the best way to like sell to your retailers is from personal experience. So if you haven't burned the candle to know how it actually does burn, how are you going to communicate that with your retailer? Like if you haven't felt the plush, how are you going to communicate? Just bring it in so they can feel it and be like,
Or like
"Well,
if you don't
I
want the
feel it."
plush, give it to like your grandkid or your son or daughter or
Yeah,
whatever,
market research with
and let
samples.
them see how much they love it and how they never stop carrying it around with them because it just feels so good. And yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
So,
actually looking here at my desk, and I'm looking at the daily checklist that I have that's a sample, and the notepad that's a sample, and the pen that's a sample, and the container that my plant is in is a sample, and my AirPods cover is a sample. Like my desk is covered.
oh
I'm
yeah.
using them. It's
Oh my
so many fun
gosh.
products.
I think
People are
that's
going to
always
be like, but it's true. My hand cream is a sample. My air freshener is a sample. My notebook is a sample.
Yeah. I have
And
a
yeah.
candle
it's,
burning. That's a sample right now.
yeah, we're not abusing them. And sometimes in the role that I have, and Angela's probably been on this end too a little bit, certainly her colleagues, when we're talking to brands to evaluate bringing them on, we have to see the samples, especially with certain categories. So, yep, I'm wearing jewelry from one of our brands, and all the things, but like, right, we end up looking like the brands that we represent. But isn't that a great thing to walk into an account
Yeah.
wearing these, you know, the hoops or the necklace or whatever, and have the retailer say, those are fabulous. And it's like, well, yeah, you know, and we should get them in your store.
Yeah. I think with that comment about wearing jewelry, of course, there are some men who will be totally comfortable doing that, but so that this role necessarily isn't completely geared towards women and those maybe who I also identify a little more feminine, what would you guys say makes men also eligible to be awesome reps? Maybe because they also have the thought that they don't like shopping and the women buy everything and blah blah blah.
Some of the best sales reps that I've worked with in my career have been men. They do tend to have a different selling style, but the retailers love working with men. So it is definitely a equal opportunity industry.
Yeah, for sure.
We have men in our agency. We've got several guy reps, and you know, they love retail too. And I think, you know, one thing that we didn't say for everyone who, you know, becoming a rep is setting and achieving goals is exciting. Beating yourself, you know, every year, you know,
Yeah.
looking at your numbers, and some people are motivated by that kind of thing, and a lot of vendors and agencies will set contests where you can achieve and win a guest card or whatever. And it's like, you know, there are just people out there who just love like hitting those kinds of goals. Put it in front of me, I'm going to run for it.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Cool.
So I just really quickly wanted to touch base. If people are loving what they're hearing, I think Reps are Local 2 is a great entry point. Is there any, I know we talked previously, and it sounds like as a collective, we're working on a kind of like a, hey, you're a rep, welcome to the rep world starter kit as much as you can. That's more general. But is there any like information that outsiders could glean from your, I think Reps are Local 2 as a website. Am I
Oh, yeah.
mistaken on that? Okay,
Yeah, I think
perfect. So I,
repsarelevel2.com.
yeah, so repsolocal2.com. Is there any like general type information listeners could get out of that that would make sense to them? Or is there like a way to contact you from the site?
There is. There's contact on the site. There are things like there's a rep resource section. There's a whole bunch of different resource pages there. And you know, they're welcome to just reach out to us in the chat or reach out to us through our social channels. If somebody is really interested about getting into the industry, I would love to help connect them with some agencies that have openings.
Yeah, for
Awesome.
sure.
Yeah.
And check out
Again,
the openings.
community. Yeah.
Yeah, and listeners, if you are entrepreneurial, have a passion for retail, love to learn, and maybe have a teaching aspect inside of you, just go check out wholesaletalent.com. We have job postings from both Roadrunners and Just Gotta Have It for rep positions available if they're in a state that you're in.
Or want to move to, or you're looking
Yeah,
to
yeah.
have a fresh start in
Relocate to
life.
anything.
Yeah.
Go check them out and apply. You can apply on our website. But we'll leave it with our favorite question. What is each of yours favorite thing about working in this industry? Who
Mine
wants-
is really simple, and I feel like now I might be a broken record, but it really is the entrepreneurial piece, the independent piece. I'm an early bird. I like getting up early and knocking out most of my day. I can do that. I
Yeah,
can do that. I don't have to wait till the office opens at 9. I can get my day knocked out early and I love it. So that's my favorite part. I'm able to be in control of my work day.
I love it.
Really? Okay, cool. I love that. I love it.
I do too.
And it was like a carrying theme for, you know, about being in control of your life in this role. So like that makes a lot of sense. I think since everybody here knows me, you're not going to be surprised. It's the making connections and the relationships that matter the most to me. I love putting people together, letting people know, hey, you should know this person. It's going to enrich your life. Like just, yeah, I mean, life is so rich with relationships. And, you know, this industry is full of them. I did see one of our vendors in the industry. A person who worked at well, she still works for a manufacturer, said that our the markets, the trade shows are like summer camp for adults.
Yeah.
I'll leave it there. I was like, that's true because it's like seeing all your friends and we get to see each other many times a year and it's just so fun.
Yeah, it is. And we're always like traveling. So it's just like you're on a trip with your friends. Yeah. So fun. And then you get to do your work at whatever time of day you want while you're on that business trip. So
Yep.
there we go. Perfect. Well, thank you, Angela and Kelly. This has been an amazing conversation, and we look forward to what the future of Reps Are Local 2 looks like. And we hope that we have some applicants for your jobs. So,
Well,
yay.
thanks
Thank
for
you.
having us, and
Yeah.
thanks for starting that job board.
Yeah,
Of
of course.
course.
Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Happy
you.
to promote it. Yeah, this was
Thank
really
you.
fun.
Yay,
Good
thanks.
talking to you.
Thank you, you too.
Great chatting with you guys. Bye.
Bye.
Curious about any of the opportunities discussed in this episode? Be sure to check out the industry job board at wholesaletalent.com. And thanks for listening to Beyond the Stockroom.